What a guan, YouTube. What's a guan? What's a guan? Another beautiful day. I guess you can call me a what is the word like? A soliophile. I just love being in the sun, bro. Love being in the sun. Being in the sun feel good. You can tell it's starting to cool down now. Season changing for sure. What's up, YouTube? Hope everybody doing well, doing good. I say I'm doing okay. Could be doing much better, but one day at a time, one day at a time. Today we just gonna be yapping again about what I found interesting on the internet. So I know one thing that was pretty viral recently was the thing that happened between the wrestler and Raja Jackson, Rampage Jackson's son. You know, I don't be on Twitter, so like, you know, these the places where that stuff be blowing up the most, as on Twitter. But of course, it just blew up on the internet. Period. So I seen the video, bro. Like, that shit was crazy. Like, man, it just highlights so much stuff that's wrong with it, like society, the internet, the generation, like, you know, cause like what he did, that crash out stuff, like, that's like a blatant example of what's wrong with his whole entire generation. Well, I ain't gonna say the entire generation, but majority of that generation be on that type of stuff. Like, the people that would probably validate what he did is people that's in his generation. Swear to God. Like, man was mauling on them, and he was out cold, bruh. You know what I'm saying? So he is hitting him while he was, you know, he was already concussed in sleep. So like, the more you hit a person while they like that, bro, like, you literally giving them brain damage. You know what I'm saying? That shit was messed up, bro. I honestly feel like he should go to jail for that. Like, he completely lost control over himself. And it all happened because of IRL streaming on Kick of all places. You know what I mean? And I mean, like, since I'm on YouTube and like they like be policing and stuff like that, like, I definitely be trying to like look for alternatives. But when you see the stuff that's going on Kick, bro, that stuff, the type of stuff that they just allow to be a reality over there, like, that's the platform for degenerate stuff, like the heights of degeneracy as far as streaming goes. You know, so like I said, like, I recently, the most recent thing that happened on Kick was that dude that died on stream, who was tortured on stream. Like, yeah, crazy stuff, bro. Nigga has mental problems. Like, he was actually special. They allowed these people to torture him on stream in the form of a marathon. Like, crazy, bro. Crazy stuff, bro. This the type of stuff that people do to entertain themselves. Like, encourage somebody to do degenerate stuff. Like, more than likely, the people that's egging that stuff on is people from that generation. Like I said, you know what I mean? Like, we're just in an age of like where the younger generation just living with no guidance at all, bro. Like, everything is just open for them to just have access to, and don't nobody have the energy or time to police that. It's sad, bro. You know, because it just create this toxic environment where stuff like that become a reality. You know what I mean? And then the things that happened with Raja, bro, it just also highlights the fact of like, I mean, cause like when you look at what he did, I used to watch UFC and the MMA and all that stuff, and I ain't gonna lie, Rampage Jackson was one of my favorites. He was pretty entertaining as far as like that type of shit go. But you know, when you think about the type of children that he produced, you can't really be surprised, bro. Like, Rampage used to do the same type of stuff. He used to crash out, but it wasn't nearly as bad as like what his son did. At least I don't know. You know what I mean? I remember when he was on I can't remember what that was. It was like a little series where they was trying to vet newcomers. And he was like the coach or something, and like he like broke that door and shit. That shit was crazy, bro. You know what I mean? And he had his moments in the UFC where he just went crazy on nigga. But you know, like I said, as far as his kids and like, it's only natural that, you know, I seen something on YouTube where it was a video that recommended, it was like, your children are your karma. Like, that's a fact, bro. Like, your children always gonna be a reflection of your pros and your cons, both of each parent. And like, that's the journey of self-discovery for a child, is, you know, to be more than both their parents. You know what I mean? To rise above what they was lacking on. You know what I mean? And obviously, emotion and anger, it was a problem for Rampage. Obviously. That's why his child was like that. People on the internet trying to say it's not his fault. Roger, he a 25-year-old grown man. Like, to me, to be honest, you ain't really starting to really fully mature until you like 30. Late 20s to like 27. You know what I mean? Up until you hit that point, bro, like, you still doing stupid, adolescent, immature stuff. You still making a lot of mistakes. You know what I mean? Especially if you ain't got no parents in your life. Like, you ain't got no example to go off of. You know? So, him losing his temper and all that stuff, like, I wasn't surprised by stuff like that, because like I said, I'm surrounded by, you know, people in my own family that act that way. You know what I mean? And these the street folks. These the people who, you know, trying so hard to be like masculine and prove that they a man, that they take it way too far. Take it way too far, bro. You know what I mean? And they don't realize like how much that make them look weak. Like how it makes them look less than a man. Cause real masculinity has control over his power. You know, with great power comes great responsibility. So him losing his emotions and losing himself, you know, and like it was so many clips of him, like after he did what he did, he walked out the venue. He said one thing that really stood out to me. He was like, "Can't nobody call me a bitch no more. Can't my father? Nobody." Like you can tell, like his father got a big influence on, like, you know, his sense of purpose and like the things that he do, like where it's coming from. It's a whole lot of resentment towards his father, bro. You know what I mean? And then being in that streaming, IRL streaming environment, that artificial environment, that stuff don't do nothing but make it worse, bro. You know what I mean? People who like live on the internet, it's only natural that they like kind of have some level of degeneracy because it's an artificial environment. It's not real, bro. It's on the internet, you know? It's the afterthought of what happens in reality, in actual reality. So, you know, the people who live in that space, who stay in that space like religiously, you know, them the negative motherfuckers, them the motherfuckers that's on the internet trolling and shit, you know? Cause they ain't got nothing else better to do in actual reality. But mess up somebody else's life or just cause negativity and chaos. Like, you know, it's just like looking at that stuff it's just sad, bro. You know? Like he definitely deserved to go to jail for that, bro. Took it way too far. Shook the man's hand and everything. He apologized like 3 times. He still was fueled enough to almost kill the nigga, bro. You know what I mean? Obviously I heard he ain't you know, he ain't dead, but like he in bad shape. Like I said, like when you hit a unconscious person, bro, like every hit is like literally giving them brain damage. Literally. Like you making them retarded. It's that's, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a whole generation, like I said, there's a whole generation that think that that's what make them a man. Is the fact that they can abuse their power in the most chaotic way. Yo. No, bro. Nah. No. Stop it. And like I said, like I can only speak from my experience with what I'm surrounded by, and you know, majority of the people I'm surrounded by is my family, and then you know, if I gotta be in a workspace, I also gotta be around these YNs, you know, these people, you know, who grew up without guidance, like without a father, grandparent, you know, just lacking stability in the home, bro. And it leads to neglect because the mother or father, they have to, you know, they have to provide for the kids. So they working and slaving and stuff. You know what I mean? They ain't got the energy to be like really monitoring what the child do. You know what I mean? So that neglect, that space is filled up with the internet, with social media, with that stuff. Like that's what replaces those things. You know, them unstable households, it's a lot of things that had led up to that stuff, bro. You know what I mean? Stuff that's systematic, you know. Cause like I said, I can only go based off of my reality, my that I'm surrounded by, and I'm surrounded by niggas. I'm you know I'm surrounded by black folks, so you know I get to see it broad day, every day. You know what I mean? People like my cousins, like like I said, like people I gotta work with and stuff. You know, like I didn't grew up with my cousins, and I didn't seen them. Like I didn't seen they innocence. I didn't seen it with a lot of people. Like even some of my younger friends that I used to be friends with and stuff like that. You can just see how like they slowly their innocence just disappears, bro. And they ain't got no patience for nothing, bro. They just lose their sense of morality and in their heart. Like it's that stuff is sad, bro. You know. Then they just spiral out into a whole bunch of degeneracy. Like I said, this all boiled down to like the home, bro. Like how you was raised. If you would even had the luxury to be raised, like you know, you know what I mean. I grew up without my father for real, but I don't know, man. I always looked at people like I was the quiet person, bro. So like I'm observing, bro. So like I would see certain things that people do, and I would just make sure that I didn't do it. That's how I look at it. Cause I'm not trying to like I'm not trying to keep stuff going that I obviously don't want to see. Yeah, bro, that stuff is systematic, man. A broken, unstable household, that's just like a common thing that's just in the ghetto and in the hood for minorities and stuff like that. But like I said, I can only speak from my experience, which is niggas, this is the nigga way. Our circumstances that we gotta rise above. You know what I mean? And like you see, I could see, bro. Like over the years, it just progressively got worse. You know, I went nowhere near as bad as it was when I was younger. You know what I mean? Like things just progressively got worse. Like I said, it's systematic. It's a lot of things like the music, culture, and all that stuff. You know what I mean? The oppression that we have to deal with. You know what I mean? From the powers that be. It's a lot of stuff, but all of it just lead to like this really fucked up reality. You know, that's all I really want to say about it, man. You know what I mean? I think he should go to jail. You know, I'm not surprised that something that Rampage would produce a son like that. I'm not surprised. I'm definitely not surprised. You know what I mean? And like I said, I done seen a lot of stuff where people see how he treat his son, like live on stream and stuff like that. Like, you know, like all this stuff was building up. You know what I mean? You're only as good as the energy you receive, man. That's so sad, bro. Yo, YouTube, it's me from the future. I forgot to speak about a couple things. I think I wanted to speak about. Oh yeah, the one thing I forgot to speak on with the generational crash out was, a lot of people tried to bring the race. They tried to pull the race card on this. You know what I'm saying? And to anybody who is doing that, bro, like those people are slow. You know what I mean? Those people are pretty slow. You know what I mean? Even Rampage, like even he started like speaking out about the situation, and he he gave into the race stuff. You know what I'm saying? And like, bro, like That whole situation was just an example of a male who has no control of his emotions. Don't matter what color he was, you know what I'm saying? Like I said yesterday, he's a representation of that entire generation. So it ain't got nothing to do with black or white. Like, he didn't do that because Psycho Stu was white. He didn't do that because he was white. He did that because he's a crash out. Because he just has no control over his emotions. That's why he did that. So, you know, anybody that's trying to involve the race thing, you know what I mean, is ignorant, bro. Like I said, this ain't a race thing. It's a generational thing. Like, this is just the generation and era of crash outs. That's what this is. That's what that is a highlight of. You know what I'm saying? Ain't got nothing to do with black, white, Asian, Mexican. It's just like, if you're a crash out, you would probably think that what he did was valid. Simple as that. That's all I got to say. See y'all later.